Watch you throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I'm your host of Trap or Dive Podcast, Mual. What's going on, bands? What's going on, Peacecraft? What's up, everybody that's checking in live? Appreciate you tapping in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that. Did y'all see what I saw when this show started up? You know, we had a little update. I don't know if y'all noticed. I tried to save it for as long as I could till the fellas get on. I'm not even going to tell them that we got a new intro. All right. I'm going to just see if they pick it up one day and they notice it when they on time. When they hit 7 o'clock. Fellas on their way. Like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you are on the YouTube side. Audio, man, appreciate you checking in. Make sure you hit that follow button if you are new to the Trap or Dive Podcast. And if you have been around for some time, or if you are new and you still like what's going on, make sure you get us with a rating and review, man. It's free and it takes 10 seconds to do so and show your support that way. Let me check in with the chat. Like I said, what's up, Ben's Peace? I see you, Chef Dre in the building. What's up, player? Peacecraft says St. Juice gone. What? Where you been? He signed with the Chargers, what, like a couple weeks ago? I sliced it probably like more than a couple weeks ago, right? Probably closer to the. When did free agency start? But honestly, I think though, with St. Jude, I think he went to a. That's probably one of the best teams. Oh, from the intro. All right, well, so what? Still a good conversation. You know, it's always gonna be love with St. Jude's. We only talk about what he was and what he wasn't gonna be able to do on the field for us. Can't take that away. Gotta make sure if he showed love to the channel that he get a little credit on the intro. Anyway, where we at? So look, we got a couple of things to talk about. Honestly, Wes Welker, he signed or agreed to terms, I guess, however it works for coaches. He agreed to come on board. We'll talk about him for a quick second. We're going to talk about him There are a couple mock drafts that we're going to discuss. Mel Kiper did a mock draft, and I think there's another one that I need to find that was pretty intriguing. I got to find it. And then we have a question from Dre himself about BPA. I would love to know from everybody that's in the chat now, as we gear up for the conversation itself, at 29, knowing what you know now, like where the team has come to this point of the offseason, like, are you going for positional need, or are you comfortable with them going BPA, knowing that BPA may not mean edge rusher or your favorite position, or what you deem as your most prioritized position if it's not edge rusher? Let's kind of leave it like kind of that blank. Let's leave it there. So think about that. Let's have that conversation. Dre is here. Let's go ahead and bring him on to the show. And boom, there we go. What's going on, Dre? How you feeling, bro?
What's up, Mual? How you feeling, baby?
Hey, man, another day, bro. I'm doing all right. You know what's wild, bro? If there's one thing that can really like ruin my mood on a day-to-day basis when I gotta go into the office, I go into Navy Yard Station. And I don't know if you've been on the metro at Navy Yard Station lately at all this year. They are having construction on every single way to walk once you get off the metro. Like when I tell you there is no escalator, right? The stairway is narrow, and it's a basically a two-way stairway, right? But you got hundreds of people going on and off the metro at one time. And then when you get to like the actual top where you're actually entering the street level, or if you're going down into the subway, whichever way you want to look at it, they have three escalators. The middle one has been out of service for at least 3 months, and it looks the exact same as before we started going into the office. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is gonna be done by the time, like, come on, baseball season's right around the corner. I know y'all not about to do this to. I know y'all not about to do this to us. Like, how we supposed to work and commute in the escalator is out of service, and it's only 2 walkways, and one's going down, one's going up. Like, how is it supposed to work?
I can't even imagine how Nats game days looking. If that's how the metro station is looking around there, I can't imagine the game days.
Bruh, I just want you, bruh, one time, bruh, while you, whatever it is that you got going on in the city, bruh, I just need you to just go to the metro, bruh, one time so you can see what I'm talking about, because I got to deal with this every day, bruh, and I get on this metro, bruh.
I'm gonna take your word for it, but I don't want to be purposely inconvenienced.
So my point in bringing that up, bro, I was like, bro, if there's one thing that can improve my work-life balance and my quality of living right now, is if they at least improve it. Please find a way to get this shit done, so I can be a little bit more happier going to and from work, bro. Because right now, I'll be ready to. It's not even nobody's fault, bro. Like people get off the metro. This is my last thing. I can get into a rant with this. People get off the metro in the morning, Dre, and like they be so. Because they be on the same wave with me, but I'm not about to be an asshole to people. Like, they'd rather be the asshole. Like, they be so pressed to be the first people up the stairs because of the traffic. Like, they trying to tussle and get off the subway, bro. They speeding around the corner, bro. They don't care if anybody coming down the jump. They speeding around the corner to get upstairs. And I'm like, oh my God, bro. I don't know, because I know there's gonna be some people. Like, if you catch him on a bad day,
somebody gonna get swung on.
Somebody gonna have a problem, bro. Oh, all right. Let's start with your conversation. So, like I said, we're gonna look over the mock draft that Mel Kiper went over, 2-round mock draft. And I want you to introduce your question before it slips my mind. I proposed it to the chat. Peacecraft said BPA because there's no glaring holes at the moment. I was gonna say something. Go ahead.
No, and reason why I brought it up, Maul, is because like I think Adam Peters even kind of mentioned it last week when they talked to him, basically saying, he can go into the draft BPA. And I'm fine, because BPA may just be an edge rusher, but you hear fans talk about it all the time. Like you want to enter the draft going BPA. Like you never want to enter a draft, say I'm going to here for needs. But it just so happens that Washington's, when you look at that Washington roster, the glaring need right now is the edge rusher. And you look at the draft and you're like, oh, it's a deep edge class. But what happens if there's a cornerback that's rated higher than, the highest edge rusher where you're drafted, or, there's maybe a wide receiver? I'm not saying that Washington has to grab a wide receiver right now, but any of these positions could be even a safety. People talk about the safety from South Carolina. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name right now, but any of those guys, if there's the BPA on the board, which way do you go if you're the Commanders and you sitting up here talking about, I'm looking at my roster and I need this edge rusher, but he's not BPA. So now are you going to reach for that edge rusher because he's not BPA, but because you need him? Or can you just go BPA right here and say, I just want to add players who I think is going to be elite and add more to this franchise? And honestly, it's a tough question, Maul, because I would be disappointed if we left out of this draft without two things. And I think most fans would agree, and that's edge rusher and running back. But at the same token, I don't want to sacrifice the better prospect at a different position just because I need this edge rusher or this running back. You want to take, the players that you feel maybe can walk out of this situation elite. So for me personally, at 29 or honestly anywhere in the draft, I think you do have to go BPA. Now, like I said, I know fans are going to be disappointed if they don't walk out with a couple of those positions, but that's the conversation right now, is the BPA versus the need thing. And Washington still has needs. I mean, I don't think you can fully go into this draft and say, man, we can just go BPA down the board all across the line, because you still have those needs. But luckily enough, it is a deep enough edge rusher and running back class. And I think that's by design. I think Adam Peters and them, went into this offseason saying, you know what? I know we want to go grab the left tackle because those guys are hard to kind of obtain, like, Laramie Tunsil, even the Debo thing where, he's a proven playmaker. But I think he looked at this draft and said it's deep at edge and it's deep at running back, to the point where I don't feel like I am reaching if I'm grabbing one of these guys, or going to the draft, saying this is where I'm going to address these positional needs. So, but for me, Maul, to answer the question, you got to go BPA, even if that edge rusher is on the board, because who's to say that edge rusher is going to be better than the BPA? Now, BPA means anything other than quarterback, of course, in this situation.
Here's my thing. What kind of, why I always like, I would have to do like some digging, like, because my memory ain't really there right now. But in general, my thing is, when I think about draft and I think about BPA and I think about like need for a position, I think there's like this idea that they're two completely separate things, and like that they can't be intertwined in the way that a GM or the decision makers make a decision in any round. And I think when I listen to the conversation of BPA versus need, that's where my hesitancy comes from. Like, when I think about, or when I hear the conversation, I'm like, I don't understand why people believe that it's either one or the other. When you want to, like, if there's like a proper approach to something, right? Now, we have conversations on the show and outside of the show in our group chat about certain players that was drafted last year and beyond last year. We're not going to necessarily talk about just last year with the Commanders, but like previous drafts too, where we noted there was certain positions that they got, and we would question if they took them too early, or we would question like if we could have got them later in the draft, or we would question the actual player themselves. And I think like several different varieties of that conversation, is appropriate, but I think it depends on like how you feel about the player. But to the point of BPA versus need, I think overall, I don't necessarily think that you're gonna come across a situation where somebody is gonna fully go for at like, well, I'll just stick with 29. I don't think you're gonna go for if you're Adam Peters and Quinn. All right, well, we love this. I'm trying to think of like a tough position. We love this middle linebacker. And like, we don't necessarily view him as a person who can like play multiple positions. Like, we truly like him at linebacker. And I think he's the best player on our board. Now, is that a worthwhile pick for them? I mean, it could be if you're willing to wait, let him wait. He can play special teams. Like Jay Gruden himself, he was on our show and he said, like, part of the way to overcome Bobby Wagner's deficiencies from an athletic standpoint is you can still bring him on, but you find his replacement or somebody who can be under him while he's still here. And that person can play special teams. He can find other things to do until it's Bobby Wagner's turn to leave. So I mean, technically you can do that, but I think when you think about BPA versus need, I think it's a mess of all right, where are my needs at? Where are my priorities? If we need edge, cornerback, safety, receiver, running back, where do we value the best player that's available at each position, and where do they rank at those positions? Because that'll determine for me exactly where I should probably prioritize this pick. Can I get at 29? Mike, I'm just shooting out some names. I'm not even worried about like where they'll be drafted. Can I get Omarion Hampton or Travion Henderson, or can I get Mike Green? Give me an edge rusher, Dre. That's
Shamar
Stewart, dude from Tennessee, Pierce,
James Pierce.
Yeah, like where do I value or a tight end? We're not talking about like where they'll actually be drafted. But dude from Penn State, like that dog, like where do I value these guys? I mean, how do I rate these guys at their positions, and where do I need to be taking them? Where do I rank them to tell me where I need to take them? And I think those are the conversations that I think that people, when we talk about BPA versus need, I think people kind of overlook is like, it's not always one or the other. I always viewed it as a mesh, because that's the most, probably like the most appropriate way to address both questions or both concerns, in my opinion.
Well, Mual, let me ask you this. What would you call the Johnny Newton selection last year?
You know what's wild? Let me be honest with you. Who was the dude from Texas? I think the Titans drafted him. Like, I think right after us. I think they drafted him. Interior
DL?
Yeah, run stuffer. Dog, too. I know the chat going though, but I'm about to look it up because this is important to our conversations. I was doing this because I was trying to figure out who at wide receiver was around during the time that Luke McCaffrey was drafted, and the same thing at tight end, defensive tackle, and I think I did the same thing with tight end with Ben Sinnott. Hold on, Tennessee. I know the chat probably. Let me know if the chat looks it up. But that's my guy, Tennessee Titans. And it's crazy because draft class.
T'Vondre Sweat. Somebody just put
yes. T'Vondre Sweat, dog. A dog, period. But biggest strength is in the run game, run defense. And to your point, or to your question, what did I think about that pick? I think that's actually a case of them like planning for the future. Understanding that was the best player on their board, and they think that he can be a problem, obviously in due time. Like, I think those are elements where they're understanding that eventually Payne or Allen will be gone, and if not both, like down the line, right? and they need to find somebody who can really like be a person who could win and have games where he can possibly take over, however they view him. And like I respect it from the standpoint of like that if that's how they view their the best player on their board with the commander tag, cool, do your thing. Does that mean I agree with it? I don't have an opinion of Johnny Newton going into the draft, and I actually thought he was cool after I watched this tape after we picked him. So like I didn't have a problem with the pick, but I did know he had problems in the run game. And I didn't know how bad it looked when he got to the pro level. So that's what made me like after the season was over, start doing that backtracking, like who was around, and lo and behold, Devondre Sweat right there. And I'm like, bruh, like if y'all wanted somebody who can really like hold it down in the interior, why y'all just get your boy? So
but see, Mo,
what was your question?
And I was going to say the reason why I brought that up because I think that kind of signals their draft philosophy in general. Now, last year, you would definitely say that team going into that draft had way more glaring needs than this team has this year going into this draft. Yet they took a what you would call a luxury. People called it a luxury pick, the Johnny Newton pick last year. That it was called a best player available pick, a BPA pick. That was the quintessential BPA pick. Because you didn't necessarily need D tackle at the time, right? You have, and that's what people were saying. You got John Allen. I don't
know how they lost out on that foresight. You're right. I mean, you're right in the sense of like I can see it. I didn't remember them saying it was a luxury pick, but you're right in that. But
people was also kind of fine with it because it was like, oh, well, this dude's eventually going to be a dog. He was a dog at Illinois. You know, you look at his game, and it was all pass rush stuff. To your point, like, and I don't even think at that time, you know, they were envisioning they were going to be a poor run stopping team. You know, they were just looking at, oh, we're going to get a guy that's going to be disruptive in the pass game from the interior rush spot, but. Yeah, going back to it, it's definitely BPA all the way. And I mean, but you also had more picks last year too. I mean, you had a first round pick, you got your quarterback Jaden Daniels. You ended up with 3 second-round picks after that draft was all said and done. But still, for a team that had glaring needs, a lot of people questioned the Johnny Newton pick when it happened at the time because no one expected D tackle. You know, everyone was thinking cornerback. You know, you still need weapons on offense. You know, you need this, you need that. But no one was really talking about D tackle. So people were shocked by the Johnny Newton pick last year, like, because it was completely out of left field. So that's what got me kind of to thinking that, you know, at 29, they literally can go any direction except quarterback, of course. Like I shouldn't have to preface that, but yeah, that's the only position you're not looking at. But I mean, I know a lot of fans are kind of expecting the edge rusher because that's what we need.
God.
Bro, I was gonna say something.
That's the face you was making. Why does people keep doing? I think he's trolling me, bro. He comes in. He's joking with you. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Moneyball? Hey, bro. Every time I see it too, I'll be looking at the joke, bro. That's the face you was making. I didn't see the chat until I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was laughing at it because I saw more gonna have fun with this one.
What's up, bro? Like, honestly though, it's crazy though because I don't know if the chat remembers. I know you remember. I'm the one who proposed B-Rob possibly getting cut in free agency. Like, you did. I'm not tied to no B-Rob. I just think that AJ is disrespectful. And that's truthfully, I was right up until he got hurt. I had nothing to say after he came back from injury and he didn't look the same B-Rob at all. Like, there's nothing to say. I don't even think I spoke positively of B-Rob since that part.
Hey, you got a reputation now, Mo, man. That's your boy. You can't say nothing bad about it.
I know. I feel like AJ when it comes to that cornerback in Los Angeles, respectfully, you know, that's all I got, man. Shout out to him. All right, where are we at? Oh, Breece. So Breece Hall is actually a funny. I seen people talking about that over the weekend, and I don't even know why. First off, Moneyball, let me actually correct you. Washington ain't trading for Breece Hall. That was actually a stupid proposal that was made by some aggregator or however they call it.
I was wondering what the rumors.
That's not a legitimate. That's not a legitimate conversation. And secondly, why would Washington trade for Breece Hall when his contract is expiring, but also they just spent 1,000 draft picks on acquiring Marshawn Lattimore, Deebo Samuel, and Laramie Tunsil. I don't know if that makes sense for them. I don't see that in
a deep running back draft too. I just don't see it. I mean, it's going back to like the edge rusher conversation where, you know, they didn't really go out there and make this. I mean, there were, you know, you were linked to Myles Garrett at one point, but that was before the Laramie Tunsil trade. Then there was the Trey Hendrickson thing, but I think that died out after the Laramie Tunsil trade. But the reality is, Washington just doesn't have enough draft capital right now. And I know a lot of fans are sitting at home right now saying, oh, fuck them picks, man. You know, like we don't need them picks. Just go out and get, you know, these players in trades. But I don't think Adam Peters looks at the draft process like that, because Adam Peters, you know, he's had success in draft before. I mean, we don't have that many. So you got to kind of maximize what you have right now. And I mean, they went out and I think they have addressed the positions that they feel like are like high priority needs. And then they're saying, hey, the rest of this, we're going to have to maneuver through the draft. So, no, I don't think you go out and make a trade for Breece Hall because, again, this running back class is just too deep in this draft. You could probably find a starter in the 3rd or 4th round in this draft.
So, Peacecraft, and last thing I'll say about this part, we get to Wes Welker. I think the defense has some question marks. And the reason why I had looked at you a little funny when you mentioned about BPA, no glaring holes at the moment, is because like edge rusher is a legitimate, like you ain't really got nobody that can really threaten these guys on the edge. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like you do need a legitimate edge threat. You got some guys who can play a role, and I think that's good. But I think you gotta find somebody, and that's another thing. Like part of the BPA or position of need thing. Like you may not even get your guy in the 1st round. Like you may find a guy that you like in the 2nd or 3rd. You don't have to go edge at 1st round. Like so, it's like it depends on how the board plays out. And that's kind of the nature of a draft anyway. But I do think they'll need to find somebody at the edge spot in the draft, and I think they're aware of that too. Though I do like Jake Martin, what he could bring. You know, he ain't been like no super high statistical productive individual, but you know, maybe this might be the right system for him. Who knows? Where we at? I love supporting the show. That's a huge get. We get Bryce. We could say, why did AP get Kinlaw? A lot of strange moves by AP to think nothing is off the table when it comes to him. Yeah, and I think that's part of honestly. This is if you want to have legitimate questions and be objective, come to this show and have your questions. I don't think you're alone when you wonder why Washington and AP chose to sign Kinlaw. Like you can obviously make an argument for it, and you know I did that on the film session that came out I think last week. But like there's legitimate reasons to ask questions. But you know the vision that they have in terms of the different, like the utility players on the defensive line is something where it's like, all right, it has to make sense, and I think they're getting these guys for this system. So who knows, man? You got anything to say about that before we go ahead to what's going on?
I was just gonna say about the Kinlaw thing, man. I mean, I think it's a familiarity thing with Adam Peters, and I think he trusts his initial evaluation on Javon Kinlaw that there's something there that's special in this guy that you know is coming out. I think he must have seen something in that Jets tape to say he's starting to finally put it together, even if it's something that to the naked eye that us, like the cat, not you, Mual, because you do watch a little bit more film than the rest of us, but like to, a lot of us who don't really study the film or watch the film, we're looking at the stats and we're looking at, oh man, his PFF rating is not that high, or, I didn't see him make, a significant impact on the game from the games that I've watched at the Jets. Like that's what most of the fans are thinking. And that's a valid thought if you're a fan, but for Adam Peters, who knows Javon Kinlaw, he was there in San Francisco when they drafted Javon Kinlaw. he's maybe seeing something on tape that this guy is finally starting to put this thing together that we had the initial evaluation on of this guy. And I believe that we have the pieces around him that's going to really bring that out of him. You know, and then when I say pieces, I mean, you know, Dan Quinn, you know, Joe Witt, the D line coach who I'm blanking on the name that they got from San Francisco. You know, maybe all of these things.
Daryl Tapp.
Yes, tap. Yes, he played here too. But no, yeah, so all of these things, maybe they're thinking they have what he needs to finally be what Adam Peters and whoever the 49ers crew of drafting was, you know, thought he was going to be when they did the initial evaluation on. But again, that's something that, you know, in Moneyball, you aren't wrong. I mean, this is something that came out of left field. A lot of fans were like, oh, wow, because this is the first news that we got from free agency was that they signed Javon Kinlaw to a multi-year deal. So, yes, you are not wrong in thinking that why did he do that? Why, you know, we're questioning what's the vision there, because I know I did. I questioned it, and I'm like, I wonder what they're planning this year. That's why you got some people out there saying maybe it's the elephant in that they ran with Dan Quinn in Seattle, where Red Bryant ran that position. So you got people kind of, you know, intrigued and speculating. I'm certainly intrigued because I feel like this is one of those things where it's like I'm confident in my evaluation. I don't care what anyone else thinks. But this guy is going to do something here that no one else has seen him do yet. So that's the intrigue thing for me with Javon Kinlaw. And I really believe that's the vision that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and all of them have for Javon Kinlaw going into the season.
All right. Wes Welker, Jesus Christ, joins the team as a personnel analyst, former NFL wide receiver Wes Welker has been appointed as a personnel analyst for the Commanders. He previously served as a wide receiver coach for the Miami Dolphins. He reunites with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, who was his former teammate at Texas Tech. That is insane. I saw a picture about that, like when after the hire. I'm like, damn, bro, like them motherfuckers old. That's the first thing I said, bro.
That's the first. That's what you took from
that. But nah, former teammates at Texas Tech. But his role is expected to enhance player development, particularly among the team's wide receivers. Shout out to Hawks Haven for the nudge. In terms of getting that information, Hawks Haven actually my spot. But that's Wes Welker. Debo was super excited, and you know, I made a little joke. First off, that reminds me. AJ said he's not going to show up to the show if that's the conversation. We're giving AJ a pass today because he's actually. It seems like he's on a trip from hell at this point. Apparently he left at like 7 a.m. to get to his destination, and I think like what time is it? 7:30, like around 3 o'clock. They ain't even landed in Miami, which was the rest stop. So I don't know what's going on with AJ's fight, but I thought about that. I think it's me and Dre today, which is cool. But we'll probably catch AJ again next week. If he does show up, hey, salute to him. I don't see it happening. It'd be a miracle. But what do you think about Wes Welker and his new position as he joins the Washington Commanders?
It actually, because, you know, I ended up finding out that he did work with Debo in San Francisco, you know, as a position coach at one point. And it kind of makes me think of if Debo or Adam Peters kind of had some influence in this coaching decision, like, man, this guy, you know, he worked really well with Debo. Debo kind of responded well to him. But not only just Debo, because, I mean, what do they call him? A personnel analyst. So he's probably going to be working with a number of people. So somebody had to vouch for him. I mean, I know Adam Peters has been at multiple stops that Wes Welker has been at. So Adam Peters knows him as a person. So they must have felt like Wes is going to add something to this, you know, organization that, you know, is kind of needed. Maybe it's from a relationship standpoint, like building relationships with the players. I mean, because his role is kind of undefined right now. Like, I would like a little bit more clarity on what exactly he'll be doing, you know, here, because he's not a position coach, so to speak. So maybe he's going to have some kind of role into developing or anything. But again, I imagine this has something to do with the relationship with Debo, and Debo vouched for him. Adam Peters must have vouched for him. And I mean, he's Wes Welker. I mean, he played in the Patriots organization, very successful player. I mean, you cannot have enough of those guys around this organization. I mean, and I fully trust Dan Quinn as a person that can kind of, you know, cultivate multiple personalities around each other and kind of, you know, just manage those personalities. So, you know, you may have some dudes more alpha than others, some dudes more quiet than others, but Dan Quinn is a guy who can kind of mesh and glue everything together where they're supposed to be. So, I mean, I'm not upset at this Wes Welker hiring. I mean, you know, and again, I can't say I'm excited either because who knows what the hell he brings or who the hell knows what he's doing. But I do trust that you're bringing, you know, successful people in the organization, and you can't have enough of those guys around them. And I wonder if this is going to help Debo kind of unlock whatever they've kind of, you know, envisioning for Debo going into the season. Because, you know, as we've seen the rumors go, Debo, you know, some people are saying he may be washed, whatever the case may be. But I think Wes Welker is kind of brought in here to kind of be that familiar face for Debo and also bring, you know, whatever Wes brings to the table to the rest of the group. Maybe he unlocks something else in, you know, Luke McCaffrey, who AJ didn't want to be in for the conversation. You know, maybe a Ben Sinnott, you know, who we've been talking about, you know, behind the scenes and, you know, what he can maybe bring in the future. Like, who knows? I mean, because again, his role isn't like super defined, but again, you just can't have enough successful people in the organization and enough people to kind of, you know, help bring or get us to where we're trying to go.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that. I like, who knows? I don't necessarily think it's a negative signing. I think he can help out in the locker room. I think he can give you like the tidbits on the practice field. He is one person. I did think when I first heard this that he would be dealing with, who actually reported this part. Let me see, because I didn't get that from the Of course, I didn't save it. I don't know who said it. Maybe Adam Schefter. Maybe hopefully I'm attributing the right person. But he's going to be dealing with both the staff side and personnel side. So like he's like going back and forth between front office and actual coaching staff and players and stuff like that. So I did think that was interesting because, you know, he's previously been like a wide receivers coach and stuff like that in the NFL. So I think for Wes, my thing is like, what is his aspirations? And I don't like, it's not like from a questionable standpoint. It's like, I wonder if like, this is like that stepping stone to like continue his development from player relations and also like transitioning into the front office, whatever that may be. And I don't know, like, but it is interesting because like the title is one thing. And maybe they're just creating a title for him because they don't want to get rid of the wide receivers coach that they do like, right? And like they want him to be around and involved with the wide receivers. But at the same time, I think from a player relation standpoint, we mentioned Debo, and obviously, like we mentioned, Debo loved the signing. Moneyball acknowledged something that I forgot who mentioned this. Maybe it was from a San Fran side. I don't know, but I do remember this being said that Welker stayed on Debo about his weight fluctuations. Now I don't know what that, like, you a grown ass man, bro. Like it ain't but so much Wes can do anymore about Debo and his weight. Like if he playing at 225, so be it. Like I told y'all, he could be
I know Debo looks good. He does look good from the Instagram videos I've seen.
Yeah, I got it. Look at that Instagram videos, bro.
Hey, hey, shout out to AJ. AJ convinced me.
Hey, how you convinced me? You want to tell?
No, for reasons that we're not going to discuss on the show that AJ convinced me.
But yeah, maybe I gotta follow, or maybe I'll just follow Debo. If he's not already, I'll follow him on the Hog Haven account. I don't really follow athletes like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. Only person I think I follow is active. I think is Jaden. That my boy. But
Jaden don't do nothing on social media,
and I don't care. I don't care.
The best part about him.
So like I think for Debo, you a grown ass man, bro. If somebody gotta get on you about your weight at this point, like you about to push 30. We know he got a nutritionist. Shout out to Dre. He in the chat. I mean, not a nutritionist, but he got a chef. Like, like the actual he in the chat. Yeah. So like you got somebody that can really help you. You're making some type of decisions about your diet and your eating decisions. So it is what it is. But to that point, and where I'm getting at, player relations. Debo loved Wes. I think Wes from a locker room standpoint, if Debo was that happy about that signing, I think he'll fit into this culture pretty well, Washington's culture, in terms of what he can do for the players, in terms of what he can provide as a resource. But I also am interested to see like what his future is as his time within the NFL ranks, like what that looks like for him. And I think that this is probably that transitional period, like in terms of like working with players and coaches and also the front office, like to see what he can do as he transitions to maybe he wants like an assistant GM role or something. I don't know. Or like a scouting role or something. Who knows? Or maybe he just likes what he likes what he's doing and wants to be like a Doug Williams somewhere. Like how Doug.
What was he doing last year? Wes Welker? Was he a position coach last year? Because I haven't even. All I seen was the headline, and I didn't delve deep into it. Because I'm just trying to figure out. I think he was with the Dolphins out there. Okay,
or I may be tripping. Yeah, wide receivers coach. Yeah, he's with the Dolphins.
Interesting.
Yeah, wide receiver coach with the Dolphins, and then right before the Dolphins was his time with the Niners from 2019 and 2021.
So I'm wondering, did the Dolphins fire him, or they just went in another direction? Like what happened with it?
Maybe his contract expired. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right, let's keep it pushing. Who we got in the chat? Oh, Jay Tizzy checking in. He said Wes Welker running miles every morning with Debo. Yeah, if Debo decided to get up.
No, he said he was running. He said he actually did.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I thought he's saying, all right, I missed that was part. All right. Let me get to did you see the picture with RG3 and Jay Gruden?
Oh yeah, that was actually
a cool picture. Wedding.
Yeah, I wonder if they talked. I mean, Jay had his arm around him.
Yeah, bro, I thought Chris Thompson, for whatever reason, I thought Chris Thompson then got married back, or maybe
I would have assumed
ceremony or something. I don't know.
But yeah, that's still cool. All of them, yeah.
I wonder if that was an old picture, which I doubt it.
No, because who posted it? RG posted it.
Yeah, he posted it.
Yeah, so it wasn't old because he would have posted that a long time ago.
And actually, it's not old because now that I think about it, he directed people to his podcast, and I did the transcribe. I didn't want to really listen to it. I just typed in Gruden and read the comment.
So Gruden actually went on this podcast.
No. He I think that picture was like a tease to obviously their past. He plugged his podcast, but he talked about the moment that he had at Chris Thompson's wedding, along with Jay Gruden being there. He was like, Jay Gruden was in there crying, happy for Chris. Nice. But like he was just talking about like the actual the scene and the environment and like the moment that he had with Jay Gruden. But yeah, I commented on that, John, bro. I was like, bro, y'all need to sit down and have a goddamn conversation. Y'all can take a picture. Y'all can have a conversation.
I saw he responded to you too.
Yeah, I ain't want because he was just farming. I ain't want to do it. I ain't want to do it. I wasn't about to respond back. But nah, yeah, I genuinely, that's why I responded. I was like, bro, y'all need to sit down and have a damn conversation. If y'all can sit there and talk for 2 seconds. I know he don't mind getting on the podcast. He on everybody's podcast.
Yeah, Jay don't care. He'll get on your yeah.
That's cool though. Hopefully it happens because I'm gonna be there. Oh, but he got fired by Mike McDaniel. That's crazy.
Which is interesting. But you know what?
Let me check that. Hold on. Let me double check.
Yeah, because that's why I was asking, because I was like, well, why was he out there? I mean, but again, he has a different title here. I mean, who knows what exactly his role is going to be? But no, I was going to say about the RG thing. What would be real interesting was if RG took a picture with Mike Shanahan. That would have been something,
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Robert.
Yeah, good luck with that one. He was actually in Woodmore. I got invited to cover an event of his. It was a day I had to work.
RG3?
Yeah, RG3 was in Woodmore in the area. This was probably like in January. Or maybe it was like before the season started. I can't remember. It was warm though. And it was a warm day.
That had to be before the season.
Maybe. But yeah, it was a day I had to work, and I was low key sick. I was like, it'd be a good idea to pop up and actually chop it up with him in real time too. But it is what it is. All right, let's get into these mock drafts, man. So we aren't doing a mock draft today. We're going to spin the block on that next week. And today we're going to cover a scenario that Mel Kiper proposed, and then who's the other guy? Pete CBS. I mean Chris Trapazzo. I seen him around on Twitter a few times.
He's been on local radio a lot lately too.
Yeah, I think he does the film sessions. I see him posting some of the clips and stuff, so I can kind of listen to him for a little bit. Let me scroll back down to our section. Okay, all right. So we're going to start with who we want to start with? Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper did a 2-round mock draft apparently, and he has 2 defensive players going off the board for Washington. Let's go ahead. Yeah, he wasn't. It's a little dark and. Well, I was like, "What you mean, bro?" And I was like, "Oh, all right." Hey, bro. Hey, welcome.
It ain't Texas.
Welcome to the show, bro. Glad to have you in the chat. Let me share the screen so we can have this for the viewers. And where? All right, here we go. Shout out to George Carmi getting this done. Let me remove this too. All right, here we go. No, that doesn't work. Is it this one? That doesn't work either. All right, we'll leave it here. All right, so Mel Kiper did a 2-round mock. The first one that he took was at 29. Washington selected Shamar Stewart, defensive end out of Texas A&M. He said at pick 29, for those that's listening, Stewart's draft stock is hard to predict. As I mentioned earlier, I considered him for Cincinnati at number 17. He comes off the board here 12 spots later. It's the same dilemma that GMs will be struggling with on draft night. Stewart has all the talent in the world, speed, explosiveness, power, but he also had 4.5 sacks over 3 seasons. If an NFL coaching staff can help him put it all together, the upside is immense. I'm betting on the Commanders coach Dan Quinn unlocking that potential. Dante Fowler Jr.'s departure in free agency means there's a whole opposite Dorrance Armstrong on the line. Now, I'm going to start on the last sentence, and then we get into Shamar Stewart. I completely agree with the conversation about Dorrance Armstrong and the opposite side. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because if you follow me on Hogshaven, I know we have a couple people from Hogshaven in the chat sometimes. They asked me, like, what do I predict the starting defensive line to look like? And I thought at this point, for sure, Dorrance Armstrong, Javon Kinlaw, and Deron Payne are your bona fide starters. But there was a hole there. I don't know who that other person is going to be. And while Johnny Newton sounds sweet, sounds good, it can be, depending on the lineup or depending on the matchup, it can be anybody. And depending on how they want to utilize their defensive line, it could be anybody across their defensive line. And I think that they're looking for like a bona fide starter in which they can rotate some people behind them. But that's kind of my thoughts on that. As far as Shamar Stewart, how do you feel about Washington taking a guy who in the first round who is basically more with upside potential rather than coming in with like putting all the tools together at a position of need?
You know, the thing about Shamar Stewart is that if the production was where you expect a guy like that to be, he's probably a top 10 pick in his draft, because he's almost, and when people talk about Shamar Stewart, they kind of talk about him like as if he's almost the perfect edge rusher prospect. The only thing you question is, well, why the hell did he only have 1.5 sacks in like the last 3 years of his career? Like, and that's a thing. Like, I mean, in his 3 years, 1.5 sacks each year. But when you hear everything else about Shamar Stewart, it's like you can do no wrong. Like the guy does everything except get home. So if you are drafting a Shamar Stewart at your position at 29, you are banking on your coaching staff unlocking something that hasn't been unlocked to him before. Because you're basically saying, we need this coaching staff to teach. We only need this coaching staff to teach this guy one thing, and that's how to finish. You know, and you're asking him to do it at a higher level than he's ever done it before. Like he couldn't get home at the college level, but that doesn't mean that he can't get home at the pro level. Because I've seen instances of players that you knew were on the cusp of something that you knew could do this, but they just, for whatever reason, whatever circumstance, they didn't do it at the collegiate level, that they got better at the pro level. But there's also instances where guys never figure it out at the pro level because they didn't figure it out at the collegiate level. But Shamar Stewart is so interested in that regard because
he got a motor, bro.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, everything seems perfect about Shamar Stewart except the production. So if you can unlock the production with everything else he does, I mean, you probably getting what you call what we just said here and talked about for damn near 25 to 30 minutes at the beginning of the show. You're talking about BPA at 29 if he's there, if you can unlock what he does. Because this dude is literally, if his production's up there more, we're talking about him like he's Abdul Carter or someone like that right now. That's what we're talking about with Shamar Stewart. So no, honestly, I would not be upset with that.
You do look a little out of control though. Well, like in terms of like just trying to like he makes a play and then like he's just not in that position to like finish it.
Yeah, but it's going to come down to coaching because what you just said to me sounds like a discipline thing, and that's what you kind of focus on the coaches on, leaning in on those coaches.
Look at his measurables.
Again, what is wrong with him other than the production? But again, when you come back to him, you come back to that production, which is a valid argument because you wonder, can he bring it at that next level? Because he didn't do it at the collegiate level. He didn't bring that production.
6'5", 260. He ran a 4.59. Oh no, 6'5", 267 to be more specific. 6'5", 267. Ran a 4.59 40.
He has everything. I mean, everything you look for in your edge rusher. Now, can he do it at this level?
Yeah. I think it's an excellent question. I'm not too familiar. Like, I mean, it's a lot of people that you guys. So I'm listening to you. I think my question revolves around the chance or the risk that they'll be taking on a Shamar Stewart. Like initially, like just even looking at his highlights, not his game tape. I do see the athleticism. I see everything that jumps off the chart. From that standpoint, I do think it's going to be a risk for Washington to like see if they can really hone that in. Because like, I mean, everybody doesn't necessarily like when you think about being able to put pieces together, like that's a risk. Like, and that's a risk that they're not unfamiliar with. Like they did that last year, taking chances on players. And I think every team does it to some extent. Like depends on like when they do it. Would I do that in the first round? I ain't gonna lie to you. Like as appealing as he looks, I don't know if I can do that.
So you don't trust the production either. Is that what it is?
It's hard for me to sit here and say that I am. I mean, at 29, you get the extra fifth year. I mean, you get the extra year with the fifth year extension or fifth year option. And you got to worry about that down the line. But at the same time, it's hard, bro. I mean, they can obviously find ways to get them in position to like actually win like one-on-ones or something like that. And I'm not sitting here saying you need to be a 7-sack guy, but if you can do like 4.5, 5 sacks as a rookie, all right, maybe you do got something to work with, but not 4.5 and what they said 4.5 in 3 years, bro.
But see, he's gonna have to be really disruptive. If he can get in the sacks, I mean, he's gonna have to disrupt the game plan at least. You know what I mean? And that's what it sounds like. A lot of people thought he did at Texas A&M. He did everything outside of finishing and getting home. But that's kind of been the issue with Washington's pass rushers over the years. We get upset that they don't get home. So can this guy with better coaching, NFL coaching, Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, Darryl Tapp, all of these guys, can he do something he didn't do at the collegiate level, which is finish his food? Can he finish his meals at this level?
Yeah, I don't know too much about scoring either, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I ain't know. I got so much. Do you know what you know about scoring, Dre?
He played also with Shamar Stewart up at Texas A&M, but I
think he was a transfer from he was a transfer from I can't remember.
Well, he finishes. He finishes his food, but he's a little bit. He doesn't do everything that Shamar Stewart does, so they're a little bit different in that aspect. I think he's one of those guys. He has good pass rush moves, like Scott
Purdue.
Smarton.
Yep.
He has good pass rush moves. I think he has an advanced attack as far as getting to the pass rusher. Now, I don't know what he brings to the table as far as like the whole versatility thing. Like, I think that's where the Shamar Stewart comes in. Like, I think Shamar Stewart is a more complete edge rusher. But I think this guy is the guy you want if you say, man, I want a guy that knows how to attack a quarterback and finish his food right now. And Scorton would be that guy if you're looking for that.
What's up, Hawk? I don't know if I said what's up to you. What's up, everybody that's checking in live? Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate you. Especially if you are new, man. Appreciate you tapping in with us. Who else did I just see in here? Also, Another World. What's up, player? I appreciate you checking in. Jay Tizzy says Scorton is physical, high motor, captain, pass rush bag. Okay. Well, I mean, shoot, you just said it sound like what's dude? Where was you pass? Stewart got athleticism and traits. So I mean, I don't know. Anyway, second pick. Not to say that either one don't work for Washington. More so, just saying like they sound like they both got a commander tag to you. Darian Porter, Iowa State, is the second person that Mel Kiper picked on his mock draft. Washington picked him at 61. And Mel Kiper said, I'm intrigued by Porter as a day 2 pick because there's a lot of untapped, but another one. He's a former receiver who is still learning the nuances of the cornerback position. He has 4.3 speed, plenty of length, and the ball skills to create takeaways. Porter picked off 3 passes last season. The Commanders added Jonathan Jones, Noah Igbenogany to replace Benjamin St-Juste and Emmanuel Forbes Jr., but Porter could develop into a starter. One other consideration, Oklahoma State's Nick Martin will be an interesting addition to the linebacking core. He's a fast riser late in the process. So D-end and cornerback. This is actually Dre. This is my second mock draft.
I'm about to say that looks like your mock draft.
Yeah, D-end and cornerback. I forgot who I took. I took the Kentucky dude. I forgot his name. It wasn't Kobe, so it wasn't Kobe from Kansas State. Kansas. It was dude from Kentucky. But yeah, Darian Porter. And I would be more inclined taking a chance here in the second round on like untapped potential, right? And if the idea, so I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to look at both picks and say whether or not I agree with Mel Kiper's draft. I'll look at them separately. And I think like taking a chance on a Darian Porter in this position, given that he says like he has the length and ball skills to create takeaways, I am open to that idea. I'm open to the idea of like a defensive heavy draft on the front end. I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with the idea, like I did my first, like I'm okay with offensive heavy too. Like however the approach is, it could be a mixed bag too. But like if you choose to bolster up on one side of the ball, like that will make complete sense with this team. Given the situation that you have in terms of just trying to add the best talent available or the best talent to you and making them compete for a spot. What do you think about Darian Porter, Dre?
I would, if we get Darian Porter at the 61st pick, regardless of who we draft at the 29th pick, it's a home run pick at 61 because obviously you're drafted for the potential. But for me, a Darian Porter, I look at his size and his speed and also the fact that he played wide receiver previously. So the ball skills are there. Like, and I saw Hawk say something in the chat, and I was actually going to mention this, that he's the inverse of what you would think of a Ben St-Juste, but at the same kind of size. Like Ben St-Juste has that size that Darian Porter has, but you would never call Ben St-Juste a ball hawk or a guy that plays the ball. And Darian Porter is a guy who plays the ball because of his wide receiver background. So if you can walk out of this draft with a Darian Porter, I mean, it's a home run because right now, I mean, I think, you have starters. Of course, Marshawn Lattimore, he just changed his number to 2. So hopefully that's going to bring, the lockdown corner out of him, whatever, who cares? But as long as he's playing at a high level, that's all that matters. But anyway, you have Mike Sainristil, who showed a lot of promise last year. You just signed Jonathan Jones from the Patriots. He's going to be penciled in as a starter. So Darian Porter, he would almost be kind of like the Johnny Newton pick last year. where you're looking at like, oh man, well, you know, where does he kind of fit in? No, he's going to be that vision pick. He's going to be that future pick. And he could also be a guy that steps in right this year into a starting role, and you won't bat an eye because, you know, the guy, he earned it. But he's also that prototypical corner that you kind of look for with that size, the speed. You know, it's some things technique-wise you want to kind of work on with him. But again, that's all coachable stuff. But the guy has things that right now that just makes him so attractive that if you pick him at 61, I don't know how any Commander fan will walk out of this draft angry or upset that you drafted Darian Porter.
Yeah. There's gonna be some fans upset, and it ain't got nothing to do with him
because they want to run him back, you know, whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna have their positions, and they're gonna be like, oh, why Washington is going for XYZ when they can go for XYZ? Like, dude is right there. Why they not going for such and such? Everybody in the chat, like, what do you think about the idea of going for 2 defensive players your first 2 rounds? What do you think about that? I know Jay Tizzy said he'll love to draft it. He'll love if Washington ended up going this route. What about everybody else in the chat? What do you all think about defensive end cornerback? We do have Chris Trapazzo. I'll be quick with his. We don't have to kind of go over his two in depth, but he went James Pierce Jr. because he went the same route. He went defensive line and DB. He went James Pierce Jr. at 29. And with their second round pick, he went Andrew Makuba from Texas. So a safety instead of a cornerback. So like they have the kind of the same approach, both Chris and Mel. And for the cornerback, like I like his physicality and like I like what I'm seeing from the highlights. I don't think you can ever go wrong with somebody who is that fast, but also like plays behind his pads. Like I like that in the secondary, like somebody who can get physical, but also who's willing to like, or who's capable of showing you he can make plays when the ball is in the air too. Let's see what we have in the chat. Porter might be who we thought BSJ was. Jay Tizzy said True Hawk. Oh, he's talking to Hawk. Duh. Chesapeake said Kentucky CB is Maxwell Harrison. That's the guy I was thinking of. Thank you. That's exactly what I took. By the way, you came in first place, Dre. The final polling results. You came in first place.
Hey, bro. We know who never comes in first place. He ain't
I'm about to say we know
trash. But he don't come in first place.
Bro, AJ is the biggest hater, bro. Bro. I can't believe this fool, bro. We posted pictures and this man went on a whole smear campaign.
Yes.
Both of us.
And he lied too. He was lying in this smear campaign.
I wasn't even
it was like a real presidential race. Like, yeah. But Mual, hey, you sat there and let him do this. You sat there and let him lie.
Yep. I had to, bro.
And slander your draft thinking it was mine.
He tried to slander me, and I'm like, okay, go ahead and talk about Dre. Hey, you was right. It was the first draft, but it ain't the first picture. All right, where are we at? Stewart and Porter are for later in the season. We made free agency moves. And then Chesapeake said, I'm on board with BPA. If that happens, 2 defensive round players, it does sound good. Hawk said if they're starters, it's a dub. P said they need it. I think defense is probably going to be our down. Oh, you know what? Fair enough. It might be. But I do think they got a little bit better. I ain't going to lie to you, P Scrab. I did think. I don't know how much better. Like, are they going to be better than 19th overall, wherever they were? You know, we're going to see.
Hey, if your offense is good or even maybe slightly better, it doesn't even have to be slightly better. If your offense could stay at the same pace it was last year, you just need that defense to be slightly better. But if I can comment just really quick on James Pierce and Trapasso's draft, I don't know much about the safety, but I'm not high on safeties right now for Washington, but I could be wrong. It could be like this Johnny Newton situation where they viewing it, this guy could be a high impact player. But to speak on James Pierce for a bit, now I think James Pierce, add something really good. I mean, I do think he's going to be one of those, like, pass rush specialists. But the question I have right now when it comes to James Pierce, and not even just James Pierce, but this also extends to Mike Green as well from Marshall, is are these guys that you can kind of envision playing every down, or are these situational pass rushers? Like, and I mean, you can always use a situational pass rusher, but are you drafting situational pass rushers at 29? Now, granted, they can develop into something a little bit more when they get to this level, right? Like, they can be 3-down pass rushers. They can be somebody you don't want to take off the field, but we don't know that right now. And my question is, like, do you think right now, like, these guys are ready to be every down pass rushers? And I think that's a more glaring need right now, is a guy that can be more versatile. So I may be more inclined to take a Shamar Stewart than I am to take a Mike Green, so to speak, because I feel like Shamar Stewart can at least play every down.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think that's a need right now. Like, I think that is a need. I think that people can develop into 3-down players if they show that they're capable of like picking up the game and processing at the proper rate, right? A proper pace. But I think starting a career, unless you goddamn Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and like those elite players, I don't think you're gonna start as a 3-down player like that. It's gonna take you some time to really get in that phase. And granted, like, Washington actually saw quote unquote 3-down play from Chase Young and Montez Sweat, like, as your edge rushers when they was around. But like what does that mean if they're not really, they're not necessarily like super, like, their presence isn't felt like as much as you would like them to be at where you pick them. So like, if you can develop into a 3-down player, I think that works just as much as somebody coming out of the draft as that. And because I think it can work both ways, if that makes sense. In my opinion, that's what I think.
Yeah, and it does make sense. I mean, because like you said, every rookie is not going to come in with it all put together, especially when you're talking about drafting where Washington's drafting, when you're drafting late. So some of the guys you're going to be looking at when it comes to that stage of the draft is you're looking at guys that, yeah, we have first round potential, more times than not, but there's also little things that you're questioning, like, can he do this? Or why did he slip here? Like, this is the little flaw that he has here. But I still think this is the sweet spot of the draft. I mean, we've seen the Ravens and the Chiefs and, all those teams that are usually good, and they always picking around this time of the draft. They always find guys around this portion of the draft that ends up becoming like legit big-time contributors to the team. So Washington just may be finding that guy, but we could, as fans, we're going to overanalyze and we're going to overthink the hell out of anything they do here. Like, oh, man, this guy has this guy has that, this guy has that. But at the end of the day is, can they pick the guy that they feel like they can develop into what they envision this guy to end up being for the rest of his career?
Let's leave it there. We'll be back next week. We'll do another mock draft, and then the week of the draft, we'll get a guest back on and pick their brain on some things. Probably go local, see where their heads. Now, may actually double dip, go local and get somebody who can do some closing analysis after these pro days have came and went. But yeah, let's leave it there, and let's circle back next week. All 32 is going to be back this week. We'll be live tomorrow, and I'll have a couple more film sessions coming out during the next couple of weeks. Within the next couple of weeks, I'll try to push those through. We got 15 days left to draft. Hey. Shout out to Armani, man. This man Armani tried to sign us up for a draft night special. I'm like,
Armani, where's Monty? I ain't seen Monty in a minute, man.
He teaches during this time, so sometimes on the days that he can't, on the days that he's not teaching, he pops up. Sometimes he just catches the replay. So shout out to Armani. I know he'd be watching and listening. But yeah, you think you slick? We're gonna see about that. But that's a work day. Sometimes I want to come on, kick my feet up nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
All I want.
All right. Yeah, man. man. So let's get everybody their time, man. Appreciate you, Chesapeake. Appreciate everybody who's watching live, listening, all that good stuff. Till next time, man. Peace. Oh, I didn't set the outro video. Let's do that. There we go. Now we go. Peace.
Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball. Man. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.